Welcome to the Fearless Happiness Podcast, where we showcase phenomenal individuals who have overcome serious traumas, life obstacles, and challenges to find their own path to fearless happiness. Listen as Max Njist invites guests from all around the world to share their experiences and spread strength, hope, and faith. This is the Fearless Happiness Podcast, and this is Max Njist.
All right, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this world. This is Max from the Fearless Happiness Podcast. Again, I know I have another special and amazing guest. Can't help it. I've just been blessed that way. Joining me today, her name is Amira, but what I like to do, Amira, is have you introduce yourself to my audience, like who you are, what it is you do, and then you and I, like I said, are going to rock and roll.
I'm Amira. I've been living out in Hawaii for the last 12 years and practicing hypnotherapy and leading retreats to help people increase resilience towards things. And yeah, that's kind of been my passion, just facilitating breakthroughs, I guess. It's a bit of a passion project.
Wow. Every time I hear, like a guest say, help people have breakthroughs through their and whatever, whether it's trauma or right, because I'm going to ask you, like, what were some of the challenges? Like, what happened in your life that brought you to where you are today and helping people hypnotherapy and to break through those? Because some of them is, could be pretty serious. So what happened with you? And, you go as deep as you want and then talk about that.
Yeah. So I had a less than 1% chance of surviving this brain surgery about 12 years ago. And that was just crazy. It was less than 1%. And I decided to do the surgery anyways, just kind of for science reasons. And the doctor said, this is really like it's never worked before. And for some reason, I thought, well, what if I'm just that resilient? Like, what if that doesn't affect me though? Like I just kind of saw myself as this, I don't know, like I had this flirtation with the universe. Like, I know they're saying that, but probably I'll be back. So I felt that good feeling. And then obviously it was no walk in the park after the surgery. It was kind of like I went back to being a baby for a year and I had to be, fed and walked and taken care of in every way. But I do feel like I found a sense of freedom in that reset. I moved to Hawaii and then restarted my life. And from there, like as I was restarting and rebuilding years later, I just wanted to help people do that without having, brain surgery, because it's pretty easy when you're like, thrown to the edge of your life. It's pretty easy to start over. But when you're just in your normal life, like in your normal day-to-day, it's hard to correct any pattern. Like it feels nearly impossible to be like, oh, I'm gonna be compassionate here where I used to judge, or I'm gonna be kind here even though I'm uncomfortable, or like just changing these minor patterns and how we show up in our day-to-day lives is really, really hard. And so I wanted to go into a field that made it easier, because I found that it made it easier for me. I started receiving hypnotherapy on big wounds that were really difficult for me to break through. And so I just wanted to pass that forward. And it's been a pretty rewarding journey so far.
Wow. I mean, having a brain surgery and them telling you, that right there, you going, yeah, we're going to do it anyway. Talks to your character and your strength and your inner strength, as whatever your mindset, right?
Yeah.
But like you said something that I think is important, right? When you had that feeling like it's going to be, okay, let me put it this way, everybody, right? Like an addict, right, who relapses always says, it's going to be different, right? And it always ends up worse. But what she's talking about, that feeling she had whatever you want to call it, the universe, God, source, right? That told her this is going to be different. Go for it.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, you're right. Not very many people get a reset like you do, right? And you literally had to start over, like learning how to talk and walk,
Yeah.
like, right? And that's a journey in itself with its ups and downs, right? Where one minute you want to be back to your normal self, right? But you know, your body and your mind, because of the surgery, are not letting you go at the speed you want. So how was that, you know, talk
Yeah.
about resilience, right? Because I mean, you've been through it. Like, you're going to be able to tell the audience, like, there's days I'm sure you wanted to just scream and yell and go, this is it, I'm done. But then, you know, but you sound, you know, and what I see, the big old smile on her face, everybody, like, she's got this strength about her, right? Like, how was that for you though, when it got frustrating? And
Yeah, I had about a year where I was like a puppy, like I was referred to as the community puppy, that just, needed to be fed and walked. And it was so painful. Like I had so much pain in my head all the time. It was just shooting. But the hardest thing about it was my family and friends and all that, they remembered me to be somebody. And I couldn't for the life of me turn that back on. I had kind of forgotten who they were talking about. Like something, I was missing some sort of connection links in my head, where, inside jokes and memories and all that stuff just didn't register. Like I would run into people on the street and they would come up to me and they'd look so excited. They're like, Amira, it's so good to see you. And I felt awful. And I've always been a bad liar. So I just felt really bad and weird all the time because I didn't recognize anyone. And it's so many people say I don't recognize people either, but it's different when it's everyone. I mean, literally my friends, when I didn't plan to see them, I didn't recognize them and I would have to be like, how did we meet? It was super uncomfortable. And then I ran into a woman that's like, that guy reminds me of our high school professor. And at first I was like, who is this lady that seems to know me? And then I was like, okay. And then apparently I went to college. Cool. Like I didn't remember going to college. And I think that was a breaking point for me where when she brought that to me, I was like, I can't take this anymore. Like I can't just pretend like I don't know who this version of me is. I have no idea. Like I don't, and that's pretty crazy. I mean, I can imagine like, even with like mental issues that can come later in life, like it's pretty crazy to just walk around trusting people even though you don't remember anything. It's weird. And so I definitely had some hard moments with that. I also really struggled with family because I find that humans in general, especially Americans, like they connect with references. It's like constant inside jokes. It's constant like, references from movies. And I just missed every mark. And so it's like these joyful, happy moments between friends, like the chip would land on, like microphone would be handed to me and I would just sink the boat. Like I couldn't keep up. I used to be really funny and I couldn't like keep up with the jokes. Like I just was completely disconnected. So it didn't matter if people brought me joy or excitement or whatever. I just found that I kind of sank the ship and that was really difficult. Like I felt like I brought a sense of darkness everywhere because I couldn't connect with people. And I couldn't give them that feeling of familiarity that everyone craves. And when it's not there, you can feel it, right? Like if you're in a relationship or you're with friends and someone's mad at you, you can feel it. You can feel that distance. And I had that distance with everybody, with every close friend that used to get something that, I think all humans crave this familiar feeling. Like we just want to feel at home with people. And I couldn't give anyone that, with any inside joke, even with my mom or my family. My mom asked me to call grandma. And I was like, who's grandma? Like I just didn't have and how crazy is that? She spent so much time with me like my whole life, but I didn't have that connection. And so I would talk to her on the phone because that's what I was supposed to do. That's what a normal human does. It's call grandma on her birthday. But I felt so weird. I felt like I was pretending to be someone I wasn't. And I was like, happy birthday, grandma, I love you. But, you know, I'm sure she can feel the distance. Like anyone can feel the distance. You can tell when people are faking it, you know? So I felt a bit like a liar. I felt like my life was just kind of a scam, you know? Like it didn't feel real. I felt like a fraud. And then I hit this point where I had a few things happen that week. One of them was, you know, running into that person that I apparently went to college with, because I apparently went to college, but it was just like that was one of the things. The other thing was I was working at Red Robin, like the gourmet burgers, and I I don't know, I loved it for so long, and then I had this customer that was complaining to me because like she was pissed, like fully freaking out because I had forgotten her ranch, I forgot her Diet Coke refill. Like I just did all these things that were just like horrific, you know?
Right.
And she was losing it completely. And I just looked at her like an alien would look at a human. Like I was like, what a strange thing to do. And then I walked away and I was like,
over your ranch and your Coke, whatever. Like,
yeah, like this is ruining this woman's life. And I just walked back and I was like, this is not, this life is not for me. This is not it. And I didn't really know what's next. I just knew this is definitely not it. So I posted on Facebook and I was like, ask me to do anything and I'll do it. And then everyone pitched traveling, you know, come to Africa, come to this, come to that. And I didn't really have a traveling friend circle, but a few people just chimed in, and one of them was come to Maui, and I was like, how's tomorrow? And then just passed my dog to my best friend and like didn't really look back, and just gave myself that chance. And what I found is I landed on this island, and of course Hawaii's magical in a million different ways, and it's felt when you land here. It's like there's just something about it. But beyond that, what I got even more is this freedom to be whoever the fuck I wanted to be. Like that was just this wild feeling that I started acting like a child, a rebellious child, you know, like I got a restaurant job and I was just messing around the whole time, telling weird jokes. Some of it landed, some of it didn't. I didn't care if I got fired. Like I just had this absolute freedom inside, that I would have never found if I stayed in Seattle. If I kept trying to fit myself into the box that I knew wasn't fitting, it was just this, yeah, I wouldn't have ever found that feeling. But because I found it and it felt so good, like it just felt unbelievably like the best exhale of my life, like just total relief. Like, oh, I no longer have to try and be whoever they remember me as. And eventually people from Seattle come to Maui, so they run into me and they're just like, ah, Amira. And I was like, fuck, it's happening again. But yeah, I was like, no. But it was like this freedom feeling. And even those 5 visitors that I ran into that same issue with, I was like, whatever, it's not, it was nothing compared to the free feeling I had created inside. Whereas in Seattle, I felt like I was drowning in all of that. Remember this, remember that, be this for this person. It was just exhausting.
well, I mean, they didn't do it maliciously, but like your mom and everybody, right? They just
Yes,
want
loving. Yeah.
loving, but in your head, right? Because you're starting
Pressure.
like, I don't like pressure, right?
Yeah.
So I was gonna ask you, because I know like some of us take for granted those what you talked like about the references, right? I mean, I belong to a chat group like on phone, right? Of all my buddies I went to high school with, like the core group of guys, right? And I know what you mean, because there's times I'm like, yeah, I remember that. And then they talk about a period during my addiction where I was checked out. You know
Mm.
what I mean? Like they'll talk about those memories, and I'm like, God, I don't even feel like I belong here anymore. You know what I get
Yeah.
that bummed out feeling like, who am I? And but as you said though, like, I found my way back. They're some of my closest friends ever. And
Mm.
and they're just happy I'm back. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because I literally disappeared for years. And
Yeah.
it was like I showed up at my one of my my daughter's godfather, and his parents were my godparents. Our well, his dad passed, but his mom's my godmother. And I remember when I showed up for a year, after a year sober, right? I got a year sober. I showed up at the house, and I knocked on the door, and it was like they looked at me like they saw a ghost, right? At first, right? Like I kind of understand what you're talking about, but
Yeah.
at the same time, like I never seen my godfather like that. Like he got tears in his eyes, and he just hugged me and he said, "I'm so glad you're doing better," and right.
Mm.
And I got to spend time with him before he passed. But yeah, I know what you mean. But so sometimes we have to do that, right? Like separate ourselves and find our new beginnings.
Yeah.
So we, like you did, so you can find yourself again and be able to,
Mm-hmm.
right, look at that person in the mirror and go, cool, this is who I'm supposed to be, right? And
Yeah.
I love it, right? So,
Yeah.
right, but like you said, you could go to Maui, right? You're starting fresh. And so what were some of those challenges as you were getting used to your new environment, right? With your memory coming back or not coming back? And how has your memory come back? Or is there still those people that you go, I don't remember who you are because of the surgery?
Yeah.
And how has the family supported you in this endeavor?
I mean, I think for my family, it was terrifying that I just went to live on Maui when they almost lost me the year before. So it was on my 1 year anniversary of the surgery. I tried like a year in that life, and I knew with every cell in my being, this is not it. So when I did go to Maui and I found this sort of happiness, and I didn't really know who I was for a while, even living on Maui. I just thought it was fun to mess around with reality and not take life so seriously. So I didn't really, it was so strange because my whole life had been focused on popularity and on modeling and on these kind of superficial pursuits. Or even when I would be in relationships, it was focused on control and power, heart at all. And so all I knew was what I did before was not the right thing. And then I spent a few years just messing around. I didn't really care to make friends. I just remembered friends being pressure. And even though it's like the most loving, they have the most loving intent, if you don't know who you are in a crowded room, even if you're with people with you love, it's draining, like it's overwhelming, and the mind starts doing like, oh, who do I have to be, or what should I be doing? Like it's just not a
Right.
fun space. But when you know who you are, if you're in a room of people you loved, that's a pretty good experience. It feels really
Right.
good. So it
Right.
just depends. I guess for me, as I was figuring it out, I would call my mom with this like manic happiness, like, I just did this hike and I just did this and it's so cool, and I'm kayaking every day and I'm catching fish with uncle, and like I just was so excited about this new way of existing. And she just went along with it. Like she didn't really confront it at all. She just was like, okay, cool. Okay, maybe we should come visit you and see how it's going. And so she came out and she got to experience the life I was living. And then after that, she got it. She's like, yeah, live here for as long as you want. You seem so happy. It's so nice to see. And so that kind of diffused the worry around it. Just for them to see me happy changed, because they were really worried before that. They were just like, are you able to, do you have, enough puffs on your inhaler? Are you okay? Do you have good friends? Do you have, and I was like, no, I'm not really interested in friends. She's like, okay, concerning. um, and but it was so fun for me to be free of all social stuff. I mean, it still existed all around me, but I I had a job where the whole restaurant did not like me because they didn't understand. They were like, I would say, "Oh, I don't really have money, so I should probably work." And then they were single moms and stressing and stuff. And so they were just confused at how I could be so casual about it, and how I just didn't really do my job anyways. I just had this weird trust that like if I can survive a 1% situation, like life's probably going to work itself out. But it was, yeah, and it was just such a fun experiment. But I would say family was super supportive once they saw me happy. It took some years after that, maybe like the third year after the brain surgery, my memory started coming back. I ended up living in the jungle for a while to study the mind, which I thought was so unique. I'm like, wow, I'm so interesting. This is so cool. Like, I'm just studying the brain, like, I'm onto some stuff, you know?
Right.
And then I talked to my neurosurgeon. He's like, actually, that's a pretty normal thing to to do after brain surgery. Whenever you've had a big injury, you just get excited about helping others with that thing or maybe learning more about it. But yeah, so then about a few years later, the pressure was off. My family and friends, and I didn't just interact with my friends in a pressury way after that. It was really sweet once I had found who I was, but
Right.
yeah, and so, and even when they reminisced, like I was like, sounds nice, you know, but I genuinely enjoyed their story. I was like, cool, you know, and it didn't make me feel like, shoot, I'm supposed to know something here.
Right.
So it was actually, it ended up being positive regardless if I remembered things. I just decided if someone's happy to see me, I'm happy to see them too. It's a beautiful world. People are friendly. Like, I'm gonna just like connect to the emotion of what's coming at me. And if it's excitement, cool. If it's sadness, oh no. Like, and just whether I know what's going on or not doesn't really matter completely.
Right.
And so the memory started coming back. I was walking through Sweden. My mom had just taken me to this random street. I thought, she's like, let's go for a walk through this neighborhood. And I was like, okay. And as I'm walking through, I look around and I had this weird familiar feeling. And I thought, I've been here before. And
Right.
I pointed up on these apartments and I told her, I've we lived there. And then I used to hang out with this girl, like this is in Kungsängen in Sweden. And I was like, we lived there on the third floor. My friend at the time was Miriam, and she lived in this apartment. And then we used to go around the corner and we would, you know, go sledding back there. And I just, all of it came back. I started speaking Swedish. I looked at my grandma who was next to us, and I was like, oh my gosh,
Grandma, there you
grandma,
go.
like I had been gone, you know?
Right.
So it really came from this pressure-free way of showing me things. And I found that most things came back. My mom just kept doing these cute little things where she would just put me in certain environments and then it would start to come back naturally because that was the only way for me to access it through the pressure of remember this. Like nothing happened and I just felt bad. But when they relaxed and they just let things happen, I found that my memories did come through. I'm not no longer like there's not anything that I feel like I can't access
Right.
in my
Well,
past.
you know, it's funny how the brain works, right? When we feel pressure and it's
Yeah.
something we're telling ourselves it's uncomfortable, the brain will shut down, like, nope, you don't need to do
Yeah.
that. Right. And I could just imagine a mom, right? Like we know the older generation, right? Like if I
Yeah.
did that, my mom would have been like, honey, your son has lost his mind. There's something going on over there. Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, but thank God that they were supportive and they let you have this journey, right? Because it was
Yeah.
a journey to find not only your memories again, but yourself, your true authentic self, as you would say, right? And
Hmm.
right, studying and it's like with you, it's like the same thing with addiction, right? it's when you said you started studying the brain, that's what I started doing. I went back to school to become a counselor because I wanted to give back for all the people that helped
Mm.
me when I was
Mm.
at my lowest, right? And even when I relapsed, that they were still there and not giving up on me. And then I went back to school and studied psychology, right? Because I want to know how the brain works and,
Yeah.
like why we do certain things that we do as human beings.
Mm.
And it's just, I found through guests like yourself, it's like, that's always been there, that big heart to help others.
Mm.
But sometimes the universe or source or God says, you're going to go through this first, because when we're done, you're really going to
Mhm.
find yourself and you're going to be able to help people. And then,
Yeah.
like me, I always say, God, I know you got a sense of humor, but, could we have done this a different way? But at the same time, I don't regret the journey, right? As horrible as my addiction was and what I did to my family, right? But I've got almost 22 years sober now that I've made up, and
Wow,
I do my
congrats.
best, right? And it's all about, like, bringing stories like yours, right? Because I love it, because it's like you were a little child again, like you said, and you was just like, I'm finding my way and I'm going to make this the best. So
Mm.
let's talk about, like, so as you're studying the brain, what got you, you said, I know said you went through hypnotherapy, but what was the real, like, kicker that said, this is what I want to do to help others, is become a hypnotherapist? Because a lot of us probably could use someone like yourself, because not only
Yeah.
have you study and you teach it or you do it, right, but you've been through it.
Yeah. Well, what I found is when I lived in the jungle, I studied brain waves and how to go to deeper brain waves. I studied meditation. I mean, it's all there was to do, really, like just study the mind. I was living on a cliff and I found meditation to be very difficult. Like I just would sit there at first and I would get angry. Like I'd get angrier by the time I was done because I couldn't make my mind stop. It just was loud and lots of thoughts, and I knew there wasn't supposed to be thoughts, and I just found it to be so tricky. And then I kept studying it because I'm like, well, so many people do this, right? Like monks do this, even humans, and regular meditation is something that they swear by, so I've got to find a way.
Right.
And so I went through the different obstacles, and after realizing that it was really difficult, I felt like even when I learned the next lesson in meditation, it was okay. Why is it frustrating? Oh, because I'm mad that I have thoughts. Okay, so just allow the thoughts to exist. Okay, but now I'm still not getting to that like universal peace or whatever is supposed to be here. So
Right.
like when is that showing up? And so it's impatience, and then it's like, okay, just sit with that impatience feeling, and then I found that it was just, going too deep, too quick, and then pulling out like of the meditation too fast instead of slowly coming back to the body. Like there were so many difficult things about it.
Yeah.
Um, and then I started doing, so I was like, this, I mean, I'm finding like by the end of it, I did learn to meditate. And then I got passionate about that. And I was taking people through meditation. I was helping people learn how to, and that kind of stuff. But I found that it gives you some peace and then you go back to your life. And it does help, but I found that it didn't quite help enough. It didn't give me the effect that I wanted to have on the world. It was like, okay, now they're learning to meditate, cool, but it's not like changing lives, like too much. And so then I started studying beliefs and limiting beliefs and how that works and where they sit in the body and how to release them. And I did all these different programs where I would focus on, just figuring out how to uncover and release that stuff. And I found that to be super rewarding. But it's also the way that it existed was, like a program once a year for a week somewhere that I would lead that type of workshop. And it was also under someone else's umbrella, similar to like Landmark and those types of things, but a different label. And so I found that that didn't really resonate either, because how am I going to convince everyone to go to Orlando, change their life? Like, it's just not going to happen. So then I started focusing more on like talk therapy, and that was cool. It was learning how to validate myself, learning how to validate others, and living in that world. And I found that that was like, this helps people have peace, but not breakthroughs, too much. I mean, when you finally felt heard after being misunderstood or thinking you're misunderstood for a week or two, like it feels like a breakthrough. It's like, oh, I feel like that stress is off, but it's not real change. It just, you got what you wanted, like kind of like if you're addicted to something, like you just got the thing that you needed someone to just sit there and be like, it's all good. and
Right.
and so then I explored hypnotherapy, and just on the receiving end at first, and it was strange. I had problems that were just hurting my relationship. I got so insecure when he was away, and I would just like, light myself on fire emotionally while he's gone. I'm like, it's an emergency. I'm stressed. I'm having a panic attack. I'm low, like just anything to kind of keep the attention hooked on me, because the distance was so difficult. And then I did one hypnotherapy session that was feeling loved and secure, regardless of if they're here or not, regardless of what they're doing, regardless of what's going on. And it was so strange. It was a 3-week trip, that one. And we had fought every trip, nearly every other day or something. It was just like constant tension whenever he was away. And he has a travel job, so it was quite difficult for us. But then I did that session, and then he had a 3-week trip, and I couldn't care less if we talked or not. Like, it felt good to talk, but I felt no need to like hold him hostage on the phone. I felt no need to like to have reassurance all day. I wasn't insecure. The distance felt totally fine. If anything, it felt kind of nice and refreshing. I'm like, wow, we can feel connected, but also we can feel like ourselves. And that to me was so massive. So we had a 3-week trip, super peaceful and relaxing for me. And it didn't kill the love. Like when he came back, I was excited, but it didn't have that intense desperation. And I thought, man, one session just changed 3 weeks of my life and all future trips probably. And they did. I haven't had that problem since when we've been. And so that to me was just fascinating that we can do. That was a 40-minute hypnotherapy session that I received, and it changed how my life, how it exists. Because people always want to blame their relationships. They're like, well, he should do this and you should do this. And if you feel it's because he's doing a bad job. But in reality, it's just we as humans don't have so much capacity to be uncomfortable. And hypnotherapy for me and for how I understand this process is increasing capacity. And so it's not really that you're learning how to get your mind controlled, or you're getting, like taken under a spell, like some creepy witch or something. It's just this, you get to explore your own capacity, make it stronger, and therefore the triggers that you have, you may still get them for a little bit, who knows? Some triggers disappear, but some of them show up, but it's less intense and it's less frequently, and it feels like there's more ease. So after that experience, I was like, man, I've spent 3 years in talk therapy trying to become a securely attached human being. And then now I do one session, and it genuinely changed how I relate to my partner. And so after that, I got hooked, and I started, I went to, get certified, and then started practicing. And just the first few results were like a friend of mine who couldn't sleep, and she said she hadn't slept for years. she's like, I don't even remember the last time I had good sleep. And I was like, let's just do a free session. I'm just messing around with these new tools. And then after a week, I was like, how are you feeling? She's like, I've slept every night
Oh man.
peacefully. Like, I don't even know. I don't know how this is possible, but like, sign me up for your next package or whatever. Like, I just need more of this in my life. And so I ended up working with her for another 6 months on other things, on anxiety, on business, and it was just really, really cool that, okay, people call themselves insomniacs, but if that's solvable and it's quick, I felt like a magician. And I guess I still do to some extent. I haven't had anyone that hasn't gotten anything from it. I've had one client that was, not responding so like dramatically, and that was tricky at first, because I'm like, wait, should be stronger effects. Normally people are like, wow, new life, new this, new realization. And so with my first client, that was, he's like, yeah, I'm noticing some changes. And he just kept booking, he kept coming and booking and loving it. But I didn't witness this So at first that was
Aha
tricky.
moment.
Yeah,
Right.
it was tricky, but then I was like, I've just gotta trust my magic and keep going. But yeah, I guess because I found that freedom after the brain surgery, I just wanted other people to have it too. I don't think, I think I got a little bit of a cheat sheet on life from that experience. Like, you can just go and start over anywhere. Like, people don't really think like that. They're like, no, my mom lives nearby, and this, there's my job. People have so many reasons to stay exactly where they're at. And I think too, with the hypnotherapy, it's not about changing life around you so much. If I would have found this, well, who knows? But it's more about just changing that internal world to have more capacity. And that way you're not running from thing to thing. You're not like, oh, this friend is bothering me, I'm just going to avoid them, because it's scary. Whatever's there is scary. Maybe you have to set a boundary, or maybe you have to ask for something you need, or maybe there's some, but when you have that capacity, you could sit in yourself and just ask, hey, can you help me with this? No, I don't want to do that. And in a relationship too, I find that especially women my age, and men too, they're constantly running from, their partners. They run into some trigger and they're like, this guy triggers me, I gotta go, or she's
Right.
too much, or she's difficult, or, there's constantly this capacity problem, because you can lovingly decide to leave someone, but I don't think it should be from a capacity issue. I think it should be like, I feel okay, I feel good and safe in my body. I just know that this isn't the best situation for me, but this running nature of they're too much or not enough, then I think it just means that there's something inside that, you could just heal.
Right. I mean, we'll talk after this about hypnotherapy, but you know what I mean? Because you said it right. Like, hypnotherapy, when you first say it, people think it's like what you see on TV. The guy goes, fall asleep, boom, and
Yeah.
fall asleep standing up, right? It's not doing that, right? That's more like magic, you know what I mean? Like, for
It's like
show.
a performance. The real thing, the state of mind that I tell people that it is, it's like if you've ever been just so tired that you're on the couch and you're almost asleep, but if someone mentioned pizza, you would be like, what? Like that state where you're totally relaxed, like you couldn't
Yeah.
be bothered to, if there's a chore or someone needs something, you're probably like, nah, I'm just gonna go to sleep, but you're not fully asleep yet.
Right.
And if someone did have, so that state is totally, yeah, there's no mind control. You're learning how to control your own mind, if anything.
There you go. And I love that, the capacity thing you talk about, right? Because our brains are so powerful, right? It sounds what you do is you unlock that brain to have more capacity for more, whatever they're looking for. right? And I'm sure when your partner, right, when you were like, okay, he's like, wait, what's going on here?
Yeah.
He's not calling me every 5 minutes, like, or every day, or, like, but whatever you're doing, honey, I love it. That's great, right? Right. I'm some of us can all use that kind of, awakening, right? Like, um, but what I wanted to ask, right, is I'm just thinking about things. Now I went blank a little bit. See, that's why I told you before. My memory is going to CRS. Maybe I need your help for that. But I mean, but this has been such a great time, right? And listening about your journey and your resilience and your fight, to find yourself and do the second go around better than the first go around, right? Which sometimes, like you say, is like you have to break away from what you think and start
Yeah.
over, right? I mean,
Mm.
as much as your friends and your family loved you, there's still that pressure that I think I'm hearing you felt at the time. And it was like, the more you pressure me, the more I can't remember. And I just want to scream at
Yeah.
everybody, right? And so I'm so grateful that you found that, right? Because all of us sometimes need a redo whatever part of our lives, right? And thankfully there's people like you that help with hypnotherapy, because right, I know that I've tried things on my own for years, right? Trying to get sober, it never worked on my own, right? So my
Yeah.
hypnotherapy kind of came way through the 12 steps, right? And getting a complete brainwashing and figuring, letting it all out on the table. But and there's still more. I always liken it, like it sounds like you do, right? It's like the onion analogy, right? You're always
Yeah.
uncovering, discovering, and discarding and finding that better part, and then keep going
Yeah.
to the next part, right?
Yeah.
So go ahead.
I think it's the problem I had before too. The pressure was not like what I found when I went back to those friends too is there's nothing wrong with them all along. It was a capacity problem on my end. I couldn't hear my own voice and I couldn't feel who I was. I didn't really trust what I was feeling. And so I think with the hypnotherapy, it's became, like that client that came, I saw her for sleep and then she switched to anxiety and then it was work and then it was dating. And it just is like, I think the more, and I'm still uncovering more and more of that in myself too, as I'm just moving through, I'm like, well, if I could do anything else, what would it be? Or if I picture my dream reality a year from now, like what's a step or two that direction? And then it's more peeling the onion and more coming back to increasing capacity, increasing just that feeling of wholeness inside and
Right.
getting that feeling stronger and stronger and stronger, more activated, more anchored. Like there was in one session that I pictured this wire, like a lit up wire inside myself that just completely came on and that it's unbreakable. And that was like the security, feeling secure inside myself. And like this wire can never break and it'll only get stronger with time. And so a lot of us question ourselves and we spend forever in these like little realities. We're like, oh, I can't do that. Or I couldn't start a podcast. I couldn't possibly apply for that job. I couldn't do this. I couldn't do that. Why should I share online? Why should I put myself out there? I'm just another person. Like these voices are just, and it doesn't even matter who you are. I've seen the most successful people and they still just, the mind is difficult sometimes. But knowing that
But
no one has more like right to your dreams than you do. um like just what you picture, it's actually possible. So how can I get another step closer and closer and closer? It's a fun little journey. It's super difficult when the other stuff comes up, the patterns, the emotions, the habits, the doubt, whatever. But when you do strengthen that channel, when you do increase that capacity, that doubt comes in and it kind of flies off. It pops up in our heads like, maybe this, we love destroying our worlds instead of building. And so when people are in relationships, they're constantly like, maybe this is too much, maybe that's too much, and then they go spiraling on that. Or maybe this job isn't the right thing and maybe I should do something else. You can when you have that capacity and you look at your life, you don't think about destroying it. You don't think about breaking it down. You think about how to build more. And so you don't think I should run from this job. You think, how can I turn this into something that that feels more aligned? Or you don't think, how can I run from this partner? I mean, unless it's like abusive or like really toxic or something, but like then you think, how can I turn it into something that's more aligned? And you don't run from your health. You think about, how can I turn it into, like, you just get more creative when you have that capacity. And so it's a fun, yeah, it just feels a little like wizardly to create life, after you've opened that.
Sounds amazing to me, right? I mean, and we know our brains are I mean, it's proven by science. We only use a little bit. So imagine when you keep opening up more of your brain, the things you want in life happen, right? Like, I love that saying. I think it's Napoleon Hill where he says thoughts become things, right? So it's true, right? The more negative, we bring in negative. If we think more positive, the more positive stuff happens in our lives, right? It's up to
Yeah.
us, I think, right? And I love what you said about, like, we're like in that the meditation part, right? Like, I get so frustrated sometimes, right? But then
Yeah.
I read something about monks that, from Tibet that were interviewed, and they said, look, we can't even keep our brain quiet for more than five,
No, that thing's just running. It's
right? But it sounds like you and I were like, I'm going to prove them all wrong, and I'm going to be quiet for a half an hour to an hour,
yeah,
right? Then it doesn't happen, and we're like,
hard fail. Yeah.
I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore, right?
Yeah.
Forget meditation. It sucks and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But there are times I know it works, right? Because I'll get into such a relaxed state. I'll fall
Yeah.
asleep, right? And I'll catch myself and I'm like, oh, it worked. So instead
Hmm.
of getting mad for falling asleep, I'm like, hey, it worked, right? I'm calm.
Yeah.
I feel good. Like it, but
And
this
it
is
lights that too. That fire inside that it meditation visits that space that I was talking about too. So it's really cool. Like when you do meditate regularly, you do visit that space. And when you visit it more often, it naturally grows.
right.
And so it is a really cool, like if you are able to just let your brain do what it does and focus on your breath, then, wonderful. It's just, yeah, slower healing.
Right. Well, that's why I love mindfulness so much, because it just
Yeah.
tells you to accept like things as they happen and where do you feel it in your body? Just, and
Yeah.
don't beat yourself up because, you're thinking about, right? I'm here, whatever, supposed to do a paper, right? But I'm thinking about going surfing or whatever, right? Like, okay, what does surfing look like when you go to surfing, right? But this has been so much fun, Amira. I mean, I'm learning a lot about the brain and right the challenges you've gone through and how you are helping others now. I mean, I know someone very close to me that could probably use some hypnotherapy around their sleep because
Mm.
I've literally watched them for years not get good
Mm.
sleep because of the stuff that's probably going on in their brain.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to ask you like my questions now, the ones I do remember, right?
Yeah.
So we'll start with fearless. What is fearless? What does that mean to you, or what does that look like for you, and how does that show up in your life now today?
Um, Fearless to me is about the courage to do things while it's scary. Like it's just feeling all those feelings, feeling all that fear, and then doing it anyways, doing it with it, doing it because, it's this. We do these resilience retreats where people do all kinds of things that scare them constantly. It's like 6 days of cliff jumping and ice baths and temescals, and we even did ayahuasca on the last one. And so it's just all these terrifying activities where you go so up against yourself. And the main thing that we encourage everyone to do is feel it inside yourself and then choose to do it anyways, because it creates a different pathway. Like if you train yourself to do things while you're afraid, then it's like it is that capacity thing too, where it strengthens your ability to actually lead your life from who you are and from what you want instead of what you're afraid of. So I do it like all the time. Just yesterday, I had 4 parrots on my all over. I was hosting this group in Maui, and I had 4 parrots because I was like, "Hey, Birdman, can you go and like show the parrots to our group?" And he's like, "Oh, parrots," and he just starts putting them on me, and I was like, I wasn't planning. Okay,
I
but
didn't want to be their perch. Thank you very much.
and then
Right?
I thought about it. I was like, I feel so much fear, and then I just started like relaxing my body. I was like, ah. Wow, interesting. And so it's just instead of running from that feeling, like probably an old version of me would have freaked out or made him wrong or whatever,
Right.
but I just felt the fear and I thought, okay, cool, expansion, you know?
See, that's a
Um,
great way to look at it, though, right? You're expanding and creating more capacity for yourself. I love it.
yeah.
Man, that was awesome. I love it. But I'm thinking, though, as you're talking to me, right? Like, what a place to go do this than Maui, like in the jungle or
Mm.
your retreat. So that brings me to the next question, happiness. And as you see, I put a Y in it. I put a Y in it for a reason. What does happiness mean to you? And what does that look like? And how does that show up in your life on a daily basis today?
I think that emotions are so temporary that most people that are like, I want to be happy, it's like you're probably going to be depressed. But I think it's more this in the acceptance of the daily roller coasters of emotions that pop up, like in the knowing that all thoughts will, all these feelings visit us all the time, all day. Like we get angry, we get sad, we get happy, we feel betrayed, and it can show up small. It can just be, that cashier was rude to me. And so now I feel a little betrayed, or, like it
Right.
can be so small or it can be big, but all of these emotions tend to visit. Obviously, something that I have learned to do and try to do always is have a guard at what I actually choose to believe in and entertain. So those thoughts and emotions pop up, like, oh, my friend's being late, she's, being disrespectful or something, that I just have this guard that's like, am I going to entertain this thought? This is
Right.
just the mind doing what it does. Probably not, actually. And so for me, happiness is about choosing to let go of a lot of those little things that pop up, the little resentments, the little emotions, the little, like really focusing our attention on what we actually want to build and create. And then more than that, it's about finding some sort of humor for our own darkness. Like it's, just noticing the voices that come up. Like it can be kind of a comedy show on the inside. It's like, like say, a friend forgot to, she forgot something, and then all of a sudden you're spiraling. And it's kind of funny that the mind does this, that it goes to, if you really pinpoint the most dramatic place, like the partner didn't get flowers on anniversary or something, and the way that it travels in the mind to like, he doesn't love me, he doesn't care, he doesn't see
Right.
me, he doesn't appreciate, he doesn't, all of this stuff. It's kind of funny, when you just think of, that's so interesting that my mind takes this tiny little thing and then makes a whole soap opera about it. And so instead of entertaining all of it, it's just laughing about it, maybe even sharing it with people. Like something I like to do with my friends is like out myself. Like if I'm having weird thoughts or whatever, it's just like finding some sort of like laughter in it. Confessing it has been really funny, like even in a fight with someone, if I'm telling someone else about him, like I'm in a fight with this person and I kind of don't want to drop it, I just want to win. Like I've let go of like the whole, like trying to be a good person at the moment. I'm just feeling this way and I'm just committing to this little role and finding some comedy in it. And then, and it kind of working through things in a funny way, knowing that we can't really make ourselves be happy all the time. It's not how humans were made. We're like, it's like constant different emotions that are
Right.
happy, sad, whatever. But I think that my way of, because people say I'm happier than most people, they're like, how do you do it? How do you stay so happy? I'm like, well, I think I just meet myself with some comedy and acceptance, that when things show up, I'm like, okay, this is here, and I'll out it, I'll say it, I'll release it. I'll yell into a pillow if I'm angry, and I'll laugh after I'm yelling into a pillow because I think it's kind of funny. Like, I just find some sort of comedy in the process of being human.
I think we have to. I think that's important, right? That's how it's been for my recovery, right? I've got to find moments where like most people won't laugh at some of the jokes that me and my friends will talk about in our using days, right? And they'll be looking at us like, whoa. But I get what you're saying because we have to make light of it. That's not who we are anymore, right? But we don't want to totally shut the door on the past because what I've learned is when you do that, it shows up again. So if we can
Mm-hmm.
make comedy out of something that was serious, right, that
Yeah.
we're not doing anymore, I think it makes life in our brains a little bit better, in the present moment. So I love it.
Even like breaking character in conflict is kind of funny. This is like something that I started messing with maybe a year ago. And if I'm in the middle of a conflict, I'll just break character. Like at some point, I can't even take myself seriously. So I end up laughing. And then I'm like, right, right. We're having a serious discussion now. Let's go back there and just like find some sort of, because I think we treat life like it's so serious, and we're always testing each other and testing ourselves and feeling bad about who we're being and who we're not being. And it's just the seriousness creeps in. And I think that like a huge thing is just to shake that off and, um,
Absolutely.
yeah, and just find some breath in it, find some space in it, find some capacity, and take life a little less serious.
Right. I love that because that's what I've been told is not take myself so serious, but take my recovery serious so I can laugh
Mm.
and have fun. Right. But if I'm always tense because, oh, Amira looked at me weird. I don't know. She doesn't like me or, whatever. I'm
Yeah.
going to drive myself crazy. But
Yeah.
I love it. It's been an amazing time. Like I said, you brought so much value to the audience today and to myself. So thank you for that.
Mm.
But if the audience wants to get a hold of you, they want to reach out to come to one of your retreats or learn more about hypnotherapy or work with you to get some hypnotherapy.
Mm.
How do they get a hold of you, Amira?
I would say the best is, so I've activatewithamira.com or activatewithamira@gmail.com. Those are good, but honestly, the best way to just reach me, message me, and see what's going on is on Instagram, Traveler of Love. Yeah, that's the best way to just find out what's going on.
All right. I love it.
Yeah.
You heard that, everybody. Well, like I said, this has been an amazing time, Amira. I've had so much fun and learned so much from you, but you're not off the hook just yet. I get to ask you my favorite question that I ask of all my guests, and it goes like this. So, Amira, what is the one piece of advice you could give my audience to help them grow as human beings and become better people?
Hmm. I'd say, wow. Choose how you see things, like choose how you want to live your life. There's constant nonsense saying this person says I should do this or I should do that, or but choose what you want to believe, about what you choose to have in your life. Like, just get so intentional and don't be afraid to do the thing that no one recommends, like if that's what feels good for you and that's what's interesting. I would just say, like, get really intentional. And then once you do know what you want, once you've decided, like, maybe work on that guard that lets through the other thoughts and make sure the guard is like guarding your vision.
I'd love it.
Yeah.
Wow, man, this has been an amazing time, Amira. Thank you so much for being here and joining us today or being here as a guest. I really appreciate it. But you heard her, everybody. If Amira made you think, if she taught you something, if Amira made you laugh, smile, and my famous, if Amira made you go, I like that. Please go to iTunes and leave a 5-star review so more people can find the podcast. And again, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this world. This is Max from the Fearless Happiness Podcast. Until next time.
Are you tired of being weighed down by life's traumas and struggles? Join the Fearless Happiness lifestyle and let us guide you toward a brighter future. Explore our past podcast episodes and get a copy of the Fearless Happiness book to ignite your inner strength. If you or someone you love is battling addiction or facing challenges related to unresolved trauma, know that we are here for you. Visit maxnijst.org, maxnijst.org, and take the first steps toward finding your fearless happiness. Thank you for listening. This has been a production of Fearless Happiness.